Well, hello and welcome to this series of videos on high quality facial rigging here in Lightwave. Before we get started, I just want to take care of a couple of little bits of housekeeping so that we're all starting off on the same page. Remind you of some of the stuff that you're going to need or need to know, as well as let you know where we are going with this training. First of all then, this is going to be something of a technical training on the process of setting up and rigging higher quality faces for performance animation. Because of this, we are going to be talking pretty much exclusively about the technical setup side of it, rather than the artistic side of representing and expressing and shaping faces. Of course, as is ever the case with rigging, the only real point in doing it, unless it's just a interesting exercise for you, is to aid the ability of animation and express character. So we will make references to certain things about the artistic elements that go into a face, but we won't be covering those in any depth. But this doesn't mean that it's not important stuff to know. So this book here that's available on Amazon is well worth a grab. It's super cheap, being a few years old. It is of course mostly pencil drawings that you'll see in the book, but really it's not a book about drawing, it's about the shaping and expressionality of the face and how to represent them and how different expressions convey different meanings. It really is one big artistic study of faces. It's well worth having, well worth reading and familiarising yourself with all of the basics. In fact, if you really want to be able to represent faces well in modelling, animation and of course providing the rigging that will allow for that, then knowing and understanding these basics is something of a prerequisite. Further to that end, if you pop over to my YouTube channel and find the RH animation tutorials, then we have the foundation section that talks about basic animation principles. But we also have here one of the project videos which is about facial animation and introduces some of the basic ideas of facial animation and how rigging comes to have an influence on the way that we animate. If you're not familiar with that sort of stuff, also that's a great grounding, you should check that out. Lastly then, some of the basics of Lightwave itself. The techniques you're going to see here are about 90% good all the way back to Lightwave version 9.6. Everything is good from version 11 and onwards. We're going to be using a couple of plugins along the way, principally the rigging toolbox, but also a little bit the animation toolbox, so make sure you have those ready. And there's also the odd other third-party plugin, which is of course free, that we will be drawing upon. Primarily, that's going to be DP Kit when we get into some of the nodal work. Once again, have yourself a gander over the YouTube channel if you've not, where you will find one of the things on there is the foundation set from my nodal tutorials. If you're not that familiar with nodes or just need a brush up on the basics, then this little series of videos here will give you the basics that are helpful to know for this. And of course, if you're very fresh to rigging, it's almost indispensable to pop on over and have a look at the Foundations chapter to my RH rigging tutorials also on the channel. Many of the basics, such as hierarchies, space, rotations, evaluation orders, and so on, are key things that need to be recognised and understood as we proceed with this training. So there we have it. That's all of the initial need to knows. And from here, we shall commence.